Our next speaker was forged in the heart of Colorado Rockies, where fire, frost, and silence teach their own lessons. Before dedicating his life to survival instruction, he was a massage therapist, honoring the art of restoration and care. But his calling pulled him far beyond four walls. He became a professional survival instructor while teaching those skills, also served as a firefighter, protecting lives in both the wilderness and the city. Over the last 5 years, he has trained civilians, law enforcement, and military personnel on how to endure and adapt when the world turns hostile. His experience comes from the field, not theory, shaped by a grueling 50-day instructor course and years of leading large groups through high pressure survival scenarios. Today, he brings those same lessons to the stage, using the metaphors, the analogies, and truths of the natural world to teach resilience, perseverance, and how to find your true path in life. Please welcome to the stage Riven Wolf.
It was a cold morning in December. The ice was blowing from a blizzard, the sun was barely peeking through, and the lights and sirens of an ambulance passed through, flying through the ice. A young woman by the name of Sherry, age 17, was being rushed to the hospital to give birth to her son. For the last 6 months, she was having complications with the pregnancy, and the doctors told her it was a bad idea to have this child from the start. They told her, if you have this child, the child will pass away, or you and the child will pass away. At that moment, of course, they were having some troubles, and that came true. Both Sherry and her son, both their hearts stopped. And it's touching to talk about that story, but it happened. Many times we were informed by professionals on what to do, how to live our lives, professionals being the key word. But the thing is, God had a different story. And both Sherry's heartbeat and her son, me, my heartbeat came back. And we're both here today. So you see, survival was always my story. And now I live to experience it and tell that tale. It's very powerful that something like that can happen and still be here. But of course, I've had my ups and downs. Growing up, we grew up poor. We grew up homeless at times where we were living in trucks. I grew up in and out of hotels, living in hotels with my family. They were young, like I said, 17, 18 years old. And we struggled for money and it made us bond. And my family was very good to us. We were taken care of. We were loved. It was just hard. We were always kind of at each other at times, finances does that to people. But I would never change it for the world. And I love my family. At a young age, of course, I was picked on and teased. I was a little chunky kid, and I was always made to feel less. And at that time, I always wondered why. It's not a bad person. I just want friends. Is that too much to ask? Of course, it went on and on through my years, being bullied not just by men, but by women as well. You're not supposed to hit a woman. So with that, they felt they can use that, which is fine. It made me a stronger person. It gave me patience, and that's okay. That also got me into bad relationships and all. And finally, I just had enough. I kept trying to be somebody I wasn't, and it broke me over the years. Trying to be somebody that society believed I should be. And finally, I had enough, and I put a gun to my head and pulled the trigger. The only reason I'm here is because I forgot to take the secondary safety off with the key. As I was looking for that key, some friends called me and just wanted to check on me. Of course, this is the first time I'm sure they're hearing this. Anybody is this first time really telling this. And I got back on my feet, said, okay, it's time to move on. It's time to go forward. Of course, ups and downs. I was working at a job I never liked. That's many of our stories. Am I right? You raise your hand, please. We know that's true. And you wake up, you go to work, you eat, you go back to sleep, all to do the cycle again with no quality of life. We're lost. Did you know that being lost has the same physiological effect on your body as being lost in the woods? I know this personally because I've done both, and it's very true. It's very real, and I see this all the time with people. And we were just speaking on mental health. It's a very real thing. As my ups and downs went, I got married, and of course, we got divorced. After that divorce, that was it for me again. Second chance to take my life, but this time I was going to do it with food. I ate myself up to a 400 pounds. I was smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day. I was done. But at least this time I thought, if I was to die that way, my family wouldn't it would be hidden of my intentions. I figured it'd be they can say to their friends, that his weight got the best of him, and I kind of had it planned all out. And finally, I thought to myself, you know what? Before I go, I want to learn about the outdoors. I want to become a survival instructor because if I'm going to leave, I'm going to go leaving doing something I want to do, not for money, not for anybody else. I wasn't good enough for anybody else in my ways, not for society as a man or anything. So why am I doing this for you? And so I did, and I made that plan. What I didn't know was as I became a survival instructor, I was waking up at 5:30 every morning happy. Every day was like a field trip. I was teaching young kids and parents how to start fires. And every time they started a fire, their eyes would light up. And I had a young boy tell me one time, forgive me for getting emotional about this. This is my story and I'm going to push through it because it made me better. This young man looked at me in that time and he said, I want to grow up to be a man just like you. And I thought to him, son, you're going to be way better than me. Trust me. Thinking negative in my mind and not realizing who I was back then. I was enjoying it so much, I went back to school and became an EMT. And as an EMT, um, I met John Vincent, the fire chief of Palmer Lake Fire Department. And he asked me, he said, you ever thought about doing firefighting? I said, no, never. He said, I think you'll like it. Now here he is asking me, a 42-year-old man, over kids who are half my age, and he wanted me. I was like, why? I went up and met him at the station, and I fell in love with it. I was like, this is great. This is awesome. I'm ready to answer the call. He said, son, you got to fill out an application first. All right, I'll jump in. Why not? As I was going through the academy, I became something better, definitely. And I remember looking at him one day and I said, I got to ask him one day. And I never had a chance to, but I didn't have to. I wanted to ask him, why? Why me? Why'd you choose me? These you're dealing with heroes here. Why me? And then it hit me. I'm one of them. A coat wearer, as Max says. I'm a man of courage. I'm a man who will risk my life to save others and go into a burning building, not only for them, for their family, pets, and for everything else. I'll risk my life for those people out of love. I ask God, why am I here? I've almost lost my life so many times. Why am I here, God? What's the point? And clear as day in my heart, I felt it and I heard it. He said, they're lost. Nature is just as much in your heart as it is the land you walk on. Guide them through both. And in firefighter fashion, copy, sir. I'm on it. At that moment, I grew angry in a good way. And I adopted the name Riven Wolf. Riven means to tear apart violently and to tear away. I tore away from society and became who I wanted to be. And who I wanted to be was the lone wolf that did what he wanted, not what everybody else wanted, and not what the society wanted me to be. Society is the HOA of humanity, and I never signed a contract. And I will go forward and do what I want to do for me. And in return, everybody else around me is going to be better off because of it. And I took that. I swore my oath, and I will continue to do so. So here's the framework you need to know, and it works. It definitely works. I've taken the path that I took to become a survival instructor and the knowledge of survival itself, and I put them together. And I'm teaching people how to go in their path to find their passion with analogies and metaphors from the lessons I've learned in nature. I want you all to be happy. I want you to be happy as I was when I was out there filtering water and living under the stars on the coldest days. Now, you can never understand the warmth of the sun without going through the cold of the night, and I know that now. And that was my life. I've even had a young lady who became a figure skater and a model and writing children's books after I taught her what I taught myself. And of course, my story is there as well. And I've taught many of people to do this. I swore an oath to save lives, and that's what I'm doing. Hell or high water, I'm doing it. And that's my God's mission to find their path, the step path, the path few ever follow. My name is Riven Wolf, your instructor for today. Class dismissed.